What's up, y'all? CJ Finley here with my wife, Erin Finley.
Morning.
It's Sunday morning, and we're back here with another honest conversation to talk about investing. It's a hot topic right now, and it's something that we want to touch on to help you maybe make some decisions in your own life. But before I get into that, I want to introduce what these honest conversations are and why we started doing them.
We talk about a lot of different topics, and amongst our conversations, we're always like, how can we get this out to people in a way that could be useful to them? We often wonder if we're the only ones having these kind of conversations with each other. It's just pretty much an everyday thing where we're thinking a lot about our future, how we can do things in the here and now to set ourselves up for the future that we both dream of, while also just enjoying every day as well and making sure that we do that. So we've changed our lifestyle quite a bit over the past several years that we've been together to mold it to what we want our life to look like. And our hope with these conversations is to help you question your own life, to get on the path that you want to live. And in these quick 20, however long sessions, we just want to hopefully provide some inspiration and value to you to go off and go attack your life. So with that, let's get going.
Yeah, so today's topic is, like I mentioned before, investing. And when people think of investing, they probably think of the stock market right now, or Bitcoin, or things that you are putting money into and gaining compound interest. But we are going to go a little bit further than that in other ways that you can invest. But the first question that we have is, when you think of the word investment, what do you think of?
So you answered what I think a lot of people are probably thinking of. I think of freedom. So investing, as many are familiar, is putting money aside now for some reward in the future. And when I think of what that reward is for me in particular, I think freedom. And freedom to me is a freedom to decide what I want every day to look like, to not be controlled by something else like a job or some other circumstance that dictates how I spend every hour of my day. And that's when I think about investing in the here and now, that's what we're thinking about for our future. So how can we both have more time together? How can we spend as much time as possible with our future family? How can we spend as much time seeing the world in a way that aligns with our life and our lifestyle? How can we spend as much time with the people that we love? That is freedom in my eyes. And when I think of investing, I think about how can I get closer to that day? How about you?
Awesome. Yeah, when I think of investment, the word investment, I think of sacrifice. And I think of sacrificing what you're doing now and doing things now so that you have a greater potential in the future. And it's something that I'm fortunate enough, my parents kind of taught me. And I think the easiest form of investment that I've thought of over the years is hard work and education. So you know that if you work hard now and you sacrifice now, and you, by education, I mean put time and energy into learning now, that's not gonna have instant gratification necessarily and feel good in the moment and really give back in the moment. But you're basically doing the hard work now and learning the things now so that in the future, at some point, it's going to pay off. And I think a lot of people don't really realize that, and they don't criticize themselves enough in the moment to do the hard thing and invest in the hard thing. And then later on down the future, they start complaining about their life. But the reality is where they're at in the now is just happening because earlier on in their life, they didn't really understand what investing that immediate time was. So when I think of investment, I really just think of how can I sacrifice now so that my future is better for myself, you, our future family, people around us, and how can I have an impact in the immediate moment right now to make that future better.
Do you have an example of how you're sacrificing right now, or maybe how you have in the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think as an entrepreneur, one of the things that you have to do when you're starting something is your salary. You're sacrificing your salary to put all the money that you make back into the business. So a good instance is I can only do so much work, right? Mm-hmm. So if if I make, let's say, $4,000 in a month, the only way that I scale is if I take $1,000 of that and say, how can I give somebody else $1,000 to then come help me get to even the next level? And then maybe we make $5,000 that month. And then instead of taking that extra grand, it's like, how do I even take that extra grand and then invest in somebody else, or invest in a camera or a computer or things that help make us more efficient? So then we make $6,000 the next month. And I think a lot of people, again, don't understand that in that moment, you have to sacrifice that 1K, 2K, 3K for yourself to then give to somebody else to then make the whole pie bigger in the future. So if it's in layman's term, I think of a pizza pie. The way that you go about it is, if I got a pizza pie for my family and I ate 9 slices and I only gave them the split 1, they're not going to be too happy with me. But if everybody gets 1, then everybody's going to be happy and fulfilled and go off and make a larger impact. And then maybe we get 2 pies the next time, and then 3, and then 4.
Got it. I think that's really good advice for small businesses. I think especially small businesses that are starting out, you see a lot of founders and teams wanting to reap the rewards of the business growth rather than take the earnings and invest it back into the scaling of the company. So to your point, like, how can you apply that to your own life? Well, you take what you earn and invest it in something that you might not see now what the rewards are, but we'll get into more of it later. But how can you grow through the earnings that you make? Where can you put that earning so that you yourself can be challenged to be a better you down the line? And
it works in both worlds. So if you're in the corporate world, like, one thing that we like to do in terms of investing is, if you take some of your money, so for instance, healthcare, HSA, FSA, health insurance, if you take some of your money, instead of putting it in the bank or using it on material items, and you put it in that HSA, and then you use the HSA to go get checkups and get blood work done, you're essentially you're sacrificing money that you could use on things that make you feel good for things that are going to keep you alive in the long run. And that's based on knowing the rules of the game of investing. So that's kind of where we're going to be going, and I'll get into my next question. Okay. If you could go back 10 years, what do you think you overinvested in and underinvested in?
That's a really good question. I would say overinvested. Well, 10 years ago, I was not even starting my career yet, but I'll take it to the point where I had just started my job and started, working in the real world, having an income, being financially on my own, having my first set of bills to worry about, loans to worry about, all of that. I would say if I could go back to that time and think about where I was putting my earnings, I was receiving a lot of feedback from family, I guess my mom and dad at the time, and you get the feedback from the HR department at your company to really take advantage of the 401k and the company matching. And while I agree that if you're in that situation, you should take advantage of the opportunity to do that. However, I'd say if you can take a portion of your earnings and put it towards something that you know is going to improve your life in the immediate term or somewhere closer than retirement, I would have done that. And what I mean by that is put less money into the retirement account that I can't touch until I'm 65 or whatever, and take some of it and maybe invest it into a course or some kind of outlet that allows me to have more fulfillment in my life, that would allow me to meet people that may change the course of my life, maybe see the world and not have to wait until I'm retired to do that. And then I would also take it to investing in, like you said, material items. I have always been really careful about what I spend money on, but I think now my mindset around spending is extremely different than it was when I first started having my own income. I thought of it when I first started my job as like, wow, I make my own money, make good money, I can do whatever I want. Like, if I want that, I'm gonna buy it. But now I really think twice about anything I buy that doesn't do anything for my life. So take our cars, for example. we do have one car that's probably more on the luxury end that we think now, like, what were we thinking? We didn't need that. And I always, our idea of need and want is just very different nowadays, like 10 years later, than it was when we had first started and entered the whole world of working. And I think a lot of people scale their lifestyle with their earnings. This could be small business, this is in the corporate world too, like with the type of house you buy, the cars you have, the clothes you buy, the accessories you have, the things that you do, the amount that you eat out and drink and all this. It scales with your lifestyle, and I think that brings temporary gratification for people, but I would urge everyone to think about what is actually necessary and how can you improve your life with your earnings.
Yeah, I like the car example because I think that's something that everybody can relate to. Is you make this one big purchase in your life and you're really excited about it, whether it's a video game system or clothes or a car or your computer, and you're really excited about it, and then like a couple months down the road you're just like, well, like, did I really need this thing? And you start having buyer's remorse.
I don't even think a lot of people think, do I really need it? That's what I would encourage everyone to think more.
But you don't realize you didn't need it until you did it. Like, that's the thing. What we're trying to encourage is that you think through that prior to doing it. Don't buy based on emotion, buy based on, is the ROI there? Is the ROI for your life gonna be there? Not necessarily just money. So a great example with the car is we bought it because it filled a need in the moment. It was a good purchase in the moment, but we never really asked, like, CJ, do you really think you're gonna be at this job where you need this car for an extended period of time? If we'd asked that question, I would have said, probably not. Like, we have other goals that we wanna do, so like, I'm not gonna need this car 2 years down the road, so we shouldn't buy it right now. And that's where most people, again, thinking into the future, sacrificing for the now to get to the future, we were not doing at that time. But I would say going into our 30s, if we're asking ourselves these questions going into our 30s, that's all that really matters. And for me, I'll make my answer to this relatively simple. If I go back 10 years, what I overinvested in and what I underinvested in was I overinvested into two things. I think education. I overinvested into structured education. I knew back then that it wasn't for me. I would sit in the back of the class. I literally sometimes would not be sober when I would go to class, and that should have been the immediate sign that, like, this is not for me. But I'm a voracious reader and learner, and I should have taken that time to realize, well, if I'm not feeling fulfilled coming to this class and I feel like I have to not be sober to even sit through it, where should my time be spent that I would be thrilled to be at? And that's more in the creative arts side of things and strategic problem solving side of things. And I maybe should have been taking business classes just on my own when I was there, but that wasn't even an option. So I just went with the flow. And the second thing was I overinvested in partying and engaging in activity that necessarily was hurting my health and wasn't helping me get to where I wanted to be. The social aspect was a great investment because I got my first job, because I knew somebody in another fraternity, but I could have like geared down a little bit on that. But I think that's something that everybody, if you were in a fraternity and went to a bigger college, you look back and you're like, man, I could have like dialed back the partying a little bit. And then underinvested in, I think, again, my health. Like, I knew that something was wrong with me, but I wasn't doing anything about it. So I look back and I'm just like, man, I wouldn't be struggling with some of the things I'm struggling with right now. I think if 10 years ago, I would have really just sat down and been like, Mom, Dad, there's something really wrong with me and we need to do our own research and find out what is wrong and figure it out. I just continued on with my life as if nothing was happening, and I tried to just not think about it. And that's kind of like one of the worst things I think that you can do in terms of investing in anything, because if you don't look at your bank account and you don't think about it, it's probably a great chance that you're overspending, and then once you look at it, it's going to be worse the next time, and then worse the next time, and then it's just going to continue to compound negatively rather than it could compound positively. But again, that takes sacrifice and suffering in the moment. So, third question, in your eyes, what should people be investing in right now? It's 2021.
So I think you kind of touched on it just now. My answer would be people need to be investing in their health for one, and two.
What does that look like?
I'll get there. Two, I think people need to be investing in, like you said, having self-awareness to know what brings you joy and ultimate fulfillment, and investing your time into more of those types of outlets or opportunities. So what does investing in your health look like? I'll give you an example. I just recently got the Whoop. For anyone that doesn't know, the Whoop is a new-ish startup health tech company that developed wearable straps around your wrist. They have a bicep, but the idea is to use the data that's collected from the strap to gather insights about how much strain you put on your cardiovascular system, how much recovery you're getting, how your sleep is, and to take these insights and apply some behavioral changes to improve your overall health and well-being. Now, to a lot of people that are starting to hear about the Whoop, they're like, whoa, like that's expensive. I don't really need that on my arm. Right? But then they'll go buy some purse or some expensive shoes or some, night at the bar, and that's a lot of money. So I think of it as I am so concerned right now with health and longevity meaning how can I be as mobile, as healthy physically, mentally, spiritually in the next 40 years and 60 years in the future of my life as I am today. How can I improve it little by little, day after day? And so I think investing in health is investing in the knowledge to understand your own inside, your own genetic history, your own environmental stressors, your own everything that's individual to you, and optimizing your environment and your day-to-day life to make that a better outcome for you tomorrow, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. So to me, that means taking a holistic view of what I eat, a holistic view of my blood work, of my family history, of the technology that I can put on myself to get insights about how my day affects me, taking a holistic view of my job and lifestyle and how much stress that puts on me and how I can reduce it. And to me, that's an investment. It's an investment to go get the blood work, to wear the technology that people think is expensive, to go to doctors that aren't covered by my insurance because I think they may have the answers that the other ones don't, to do the online research, to buy the books, to educate my own self and spend the time doing that rather than spending the time going to a social thing or maybe, watching a Netflix show. I invested a lot of my time into learning and for the benefit of our life. So that would be my answer.
I love that. And for me, I think if I were to be giving advice into what people should be investing in right now, I think of the word control. Like controlling your controllables. I think a lot of people don't realize how much control they actually do have, and they kind of surrender to the world of my destiny is whatever comes to me that day, and they think that they're either stupid, smart, fat, skinny. They think that they cannot control what their future is a lot of times based on what their now is. And that's the hardest part. I fell victim to this. I mean, living on the East Coast, it's a lot of a rat race and a competition, a pissing match against other people who can spend the most money, make the most money doing these different things. And I didn't realize that I had the control to say no to certain things. And that's what I think if everybody can invest in one thing in 2021 and moving forward, it's saying no to the things that do not fill you up and serve a purpose for you specifically. Because some people, they might really be happy with that car, like we were talking about earlier. It might give them joy. It might make them feel like, wow, I came from nothing and I actually I made it. This gives me joy every single day and it's helping me in this aspect of my life. Now for me, it doesn't do that for me. Every time I get in it, I'm just like, shit, what could I use this? What can I sell this for to then go give back to my own life? So looking at my health and stuff like that. So one thing doesn't mean, because I want to go back to the car, because if that does fill you up, that's okay.
I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of what we say is cater to us and our lifestyle and what we think. So it's just we're encouraging you to reflect on your own life and interests.
Yeah, and that comes with being in control to say no to the things that do not serve a purpose for you. Now, if you buy that car and you have that car payment and you come and you start complaining to me, I'm gonna tell you to sell the car. So like, don't get me wrong on that. It's just like, you can't be a complainer. That's one of my like pet peeves, but be in control. Like, we can control our energy and our, how positive we are at any given moment. So energy meaning like you can work hard and then you can choose to be positive no matter what the external stimulation is. So even if the external stimulation is negative, you can choose to be internally positive in that moment. And I think that is the best investment. So whatever you can do to essentially say no to more things that don't serve you and then be more positive and work hard. And I think that stems off of the easiest way I think you can do that. And what I've found to do it is I had to move to this girl, and I think that you are the sum of the people that you are hanging around. So if you hang around other people that are positive and they work hard and they kind of live a lifestyle that aligns with yours, you are going to grow in ways that you never even saw.
And I just want to add one thing to my answer, because I'm realizing that I said people should be investing more in their health. And the reason why I believe that is because if we don't have our health when we have it, we don't have anything else in life. And I think a lot of people wait until something is wrong to reflect on their life. And I think that while we have the time and while we have the good health, we should be continuing to invest in keeping it good and healthy. And so just wanted to add that I think a lot of people need to flip the mindset around what health is and think, oh, if I'm not feeling anything, then probably nothing's wrong and nothing will be wrong. And people aren't thinking enough about how every decision you make on a daily basis does impact your long-term health.
Okay, our last question is, what is the driving purpose of your investments and what would you plan to do with them after they have grown, after you've achieved them?
The driving purpose, as I mentioned a little bit in the beginning, the driving purpose behind all my investments of my time and my earnings is for freedom in the long term, but also growth, personal growth. So if I think about what I've invested in over the past couple of years, as I mentioned, health and the wearable technology, insights about my own internal health and well-being, whether that be the blood work that shows me my genetic predisposition, my micronutrient deficiencies, how much my hormones are in alignment or out of balance, things like that. Real estate is another area that we've started to invest in and will continue to do so because we're curious, because we want to learn, because we hope to be able to travel the world and have a way of keeping a home base in certain places. And then finally, education is a big one for me. One of my core values is continuous learning and growth and curiosity. Those are three of my core values. And so for me, I'm more of the structured education type. I got my graduate degree a couple years ago, but beyond that, I'm thinking now, like, how can I leverage YouTube to learn myself? How can I leverage online courses that have now become its own industry and will continue to grow? There's just so much that we have access to nowadays that we should not limit ourselves to what we're, in a box as based on our undergraduate degree or our job. There's so much to follow your curiosity that you can take advantage of. And again, I just think that when we all kind of cultivate that mindset, the world just becomes a better place when we're all striving to be better than we are today for our future. And what would I do with it after I kind of reap the rewards of my investments? Well, I don't really look at it as like one day I'll reap the rewards. I look at it like every day I'm progressing forwards towards my own growth. I'm reaping a reward because that just helps me in the next scenarios of my life. But when I do financially, I guess you could say, reap some rewards of my investments, I definitely would love to give back to the younger generation or organizations that support continuous learning in youth, continuous growth, to help them cultivate the mindset that they can achieve whatever they want and build a lifestyle that they would be fulfilled with.
Yeah, I love it. I think having the purpose of growth is huge because growth is infinite. It's never ending. So I think if you're trying to decide like what is your purpose in investing, it needs to be that this is an infinite game. It's not a finite game, and that you need to have some type of purpose where it's never ending. It can, if you set it now, like I'm 30, by the time I'm 100 years old, it can still be growing. I can still grow at whatever I'm trying to do or whatever's around me. So I love that. In terms for me, I think the purpose behind any investment that I've ever made is to earn more freedom of choice, time, and energy. I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with who I want to do it with. And a big reason that I want to do that is because I've set a goal of I want to retire by age 35. I'm now 30, so we have 5 more years, but I think I have a different definition of retirement than most people have. It's not work my butt off until 65 and then file for retirement and do nothing. It's much more around the lines of, when I'm 35, how do I make sure that all the projects I'm working on, the people that I'm working with, the time that I'm spending, I'm feeling fulfilled in that moment, and I'm not doing anything that I don't want to be doing anyway. So for instance—
For the purpose of making money.
Yeah, for the purpose of making money. So if you were to put this in layman's terms, say today I turned 35 and I'm going to work, it's as long as I enjoy and I'm making that choice to go do it, to me, that's like retirement. That's because I'm not gonna sit around and do nothing anyway. And I am very proud that I think we're actually gonna hit it because I'm close to doing that right now. And in terms of all of our investments spread out, health, wealth, spiritual, mental, I'm a big believer in they're all compounding all at the same time. So if I wake up and I meditate and I read, I go for a run and I sweat, I like to follow the hydrate, read, meditate, sweat model that I've created. If I do that consistently over my lifetime, that one investment alone is going to compound into the real estate, into my job, into the people that I surround myself with, because we are the sum of the people that we surround ourselves with. If I'm able to be my best self and then bring that self into the world around me, I'm going to earn that freedom, not only for myself, but for other people. And the reason I'm saying this is because that's my real motivating factor, is educating other people to be curious and to understand that if they invest in themselves and they ask the right questions, it's going to lead them to gaining wisdom that they didn't have before. And then hopefully they will then give that wisdom back and our world will become a better place. And that's why I even create these YouTube videos, because anybody that has Wi-Fi or even just a cell phone, you don't need Wi-Fi, you could potentially watch this, learn something, implement it into your own life, and then go help somebody else. I think that is one of the greatest things in this world right now, is the ability to have a ripple effect. That's why I have the tattoo of the ripples on my hand, because your ripples are infinite. Your life is finite. We are born and we die, but what you do in between those two moments, what you choose to do with your time, you can literally learn so much and continuously grow, and then give back on platforms such as YouTube and have a ripple effect in this world. And that is just magical to me. It's like magic. So yeah, that would be my answer for—
give back by—
Yeah, giving back. This is like how I'm like right now, I feel like I'm giving back, but as the investments accrue and I have more access to capital and resources, this would be scaled. So maybe starting a school, maybe teaching other people how to start their YouTubes, whatever that looks like. It's really all about education for me. And I'm just a believer that if you educate the masses, they're going to have a bigger ripple. And if we have a bigger ripple of everything that's happening in the positive light, positive is always going to beat negative. And that education is going to pay off for kids, adults, the elderly, in ways that I can't even fathom.
Yeah, and so I guess we could just summarize it as, when you think about investing your time, your money, your resources, think about in the future, would you want to look back on your life and be proud of where you've spent your time, where you've spent your money? Are those investments making a positive impact on your life? Are they getting you closer to doing more of what you love? Are they getting you closer to the person you want to be? Are they getting you closer to that freedom or that energy that you want to have in your life? And if not, you should reevaluate, and if they are, keep going. Don't think of it as there's only one right way of investing your time and money. And, you know, really, I think the main takeaway here is that it's a very individual process. Have the self-awareness to know what makes you happy, what kind of life you want to live now and years from now, and align your actions with that. And hopefully this is helpful.
Yes, if any of this was helpful and you'd love to connect with us, please reach out to Erin or myself. We would love to help, and we appreciate you guys watching. Till next time, drive on.
Happy Sunday.